thank you so much for this interview. We're really happy to have you here, and we're looking forward to see you in March when you come to Mexico.
And we're very excited to come.
Tell us about your latest album, Married. How can you describe this album?
We recorded Married we wrote Married throughout 2020. The majority of the songs were written during the pandemic. We were touring in March of 2020 when everything kind of went south, and once we felt it was safe enough to meet, we started really working on the core of that album, and we recorded it in September of that same year in 2020 at Dave Grohl's Studio 606. So,
and how was the recording and the procedure of the creative process from your first album now with the pandemic and so on? Did it affect you somewhat?
Majorly affected us. The first album, we had a lot more time to work on the songs before we recorded. We were easing into being a band. When we started playing together, it was very much for fun, less like we had a set goal in mind. So when we recorded our first record, we had been working on the songs for a minute. But Married came together very quickly. There's a couple songs on Married that we wrote just before the pandemic. But yeah, the majority of that record came together very quickly and under obviously very interesting circumstances, with everything that we all experienced during the pandemic. So I just remember, that creative process being very much like exciting and stressful, and we're all dealing with like the fear and anxiety and uncertainty and the identity crisis, that all came with the COVID pandemic, and you can really feel that energy when you're listening to our record. At least for me, like in the instrumentation, in the guitars, in the drums and the bass and in the lyrics, like you can really hear that urgency.
And that's when music also comes into a bigger perspective, that the essence of music and the genre that you're playing. Because, for example, for me, I've always liked rock and punk music and so on. So you're looking to engage with that same kind of passion that you have, guys. So for me, thank you.
Oh, thank
and for
you.
many others,
Thank
yeah. Because it doesn't. I mean, I don't like to talk bad about pop music and other genres, but when you're living this kind of urgency in the world, sometimes you need to engage with that energy, not just sugar-coated and saying everything's gonna be all right. I mean, you have to think that, but inside of you, you have to move forward with that energy.
Yeah, it is like, I think at a certain point you do have to acknowledge the world that you live in and the art that you create. I think it's hard to, at a certain point, like you're hearing songs on the radio that are like, I'm having such a good time. I'm having such a good time. And it's like 2021 and like people are losing their jobs and they're getting sick, and it's hard to relate to that. So yeah, I know what you mean.
And have you, for example, did you get any inspiration for other moments, other artists in harsh situations, like, for example, Second World War, the painters, or any other moment you get inspiration from?
Not consciously for me. What about you guys?
That's a great question.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of interviews and no one's asked that. I think that's a really cool question.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like, not in like an intentional way where I was like, damn, what were jazz artists doing in like World War II or something? Like, I didn't think about it. Yeah. I thought about it more from an individualistic kind of personal perspective of like, what do people I admire, what have they done in moments of personal strife or personal challenge, but I guess I didn't think about it in like a more like a more like, I don't know, like a broader perspective in that way. Did you, Fielder?
Not really, actually, until right now, but I definitely feel like with all the stuff going on with personally and with the band and with this record, it's really shown. I feel like I'm matured a lot, because also like I'd never, to have something going on in the world that's completely out of your control, that doesn't happen all the time, and then to like have the thought, like something like music even, it's like that's never going to go anywhere, obviously. And then a year and a half since I've played a show, any of us have played a show, it's like definitely some maturing going on there. But no, that's a nice question. Yeah.
I
Nothing
guess,
conscious.
I guess on a whole, though, I think outside of our album, I feel like to some degree, maybe a lot of us have like looked back at moments where there has been like a global catastrophe or a war, for like kind of a sign that it is possible to rebuild and it is possible to start over. I also think, like, I think very often of my parents. Like, we left in Bosnia during the war, and they lost everything when they were 31 years old, lost their home, lost their jobs, lost their country, and they managed to rebuild. And I frequently think of that, like, in the context of our band and in the context of like us as individuals. Like, we all lost like 2 years of our lives basically to this pandemic, but I think it is possible. I've seen it happen, that people can start over and make a good life for themselves. So
the people were always saying after the Spanish flu, it was in 1918, or it was the Roaring 20s, which was like the most, entertainment speaking, music speaking, kind of one of the most chill times that we've ever had.
Yeah, for me, I thought of that question because for us with the magazine, we have the books, literature, and every kind of books. But when we were, the publishing, I mean, all the industries suffered a lot, and more so the publishing world. And I mean, we have the digital and so on, but everybody, I think we got stuck in the moment, or is it worth it what we're doing for a living? What is the purpose? What are you?
Yeah.
What are you driven? What's are you driven for? Yeah. So I guess what I like about your music is that you go and you express the anger, the disappointment, the confusion, and at the same time you have to put, like, you put the trash out. When you put the trash out, it smells, but you're open the space to create and have better experiences. So I think that's what I got from your music. So I think it's now that you will be engaging with audiences again in your next tour, I hope the people were able to just throw away everything out and
that's the idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And be connected to something better. No, that's, yeah. And can you tell us about your tour, where you're gonna be and how does it look?
Well, we're opening up for Sleigh Bells on a West Coast tour, starting in Phoenix to LA, up to Seattle, and then back home. And then we'll be in Monterey in November for Pal Norte. And then we'll be with the Foo Fighters in December for 4 dates on another West Coast tour. And so, yeah.
So yeah, full schedule now.
Getting there.
So I would like to, do you remember what are the songs in your record by memory? Like which go? Okay. Well, okay. I hope you didn't, because I wanted to ask you like a random number from 1 to 11, each one of you, and just tell me what's behind that song when you were writing.
Well,
The order, I need to.
Okay. Sorry, what do you mean? What do you mean random number between 1 and 11?
And then, for example, if you give me a number, Nina.
2.
Okay. So, Cut of Cherries. That's your next song that's coming. It's been released.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So tell me a little bit about Cut of Cherries.
Cut of Cherries, yeah, it's coming out on Tuesday. it's a song that was definitely written during the pandemic. The lyrics very much revolve around that idea, the isolation, the loneliness, the fear, anger, you know, the whole like cornucopia of feelings that we were all feeling in that period of time. As well, it's also a commentary on, you know, how we really had to live our lives at that time through social media and how that affected us, like the identity crisis that I was having, being alone in my apartment, watching this pandemic unfold, watching the riots go on the street, watching this crazy election come to a head in October. All the while I'm experiencing my life through a screen. It creates this sort of identity crisis, this loss of sense of self, this jadedness towards the self that the lyrics very much revolve around. But the song itself was also like, you know, we wrote that like very much together in a studio, like after Jacob and I, you know, put the core together, and you really feel all of those same feelings that I'm talking about in all of the instrumentation as well, and the guitars and in the rhythm section, you know. So it's very much about that. Yeah.
Thank you. Jacob, give me a number.
I gotta be honest, I'm like thinking through, I'm like, ooh, which song do I want to talk about?
I'm cheating as well, yeah.
Or choose one. I'm not gonna be that harsh. Choose that, like the probably the, I'm gonna end the dynamic. Choose the like song you're looking.
You want me to go first, Jacob?
No, I want you to just pick a number for me. Pick one for me, so I don't have a choice on which one I talk about.
All right, awesome. 5.
Reasoning.
Oh, sick. Okay, this is one of my favorite songs on the album.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
Feel good. Feel good, boy. Yeah. Reasoning is ooh, what to say about it? I think this is a bit of a genre experimentation for us, a little bit of a departure from some of our more like aggressive music into something very melodic with a lot of harmony and a lot of guitar layering, and there's even some samples that are used in it, electronic drums. It's a really layered, expansive sort of like arrangement compared to things we've done before. And it, I think lyrically has some of the most like kind of beautiful, poetic sort of lyricism on the album. I think we were I remember trying to sort of channel some Smashing Pumpkins vibes with the song. Because the lyrics that Nina had written were so like kind of poetic and dark, but gentle too. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of that song. I think it's one from like homies that I've like sent the album to. Everyone's like, dude, that song's crazy. So I'm like very excited for like fans to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Like for me, it was like literally jaw-dropping because, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm older than you guys. I'm 41. I grew up with Smashing Pumpkins and so on in the 90s. So Eddie Vedder, I mean, I was 10 when 10 came out, all of that. So we're still waiting. Like it's been a drought to see the next generation pull ahead and just like bring this kind of music. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm speaking for a lot of music. Mexico has a lot of heavy metal, punk rockers, and I mean, we're finally having these concerts because I don't know if you knew that the concerts in Mexico were banned until 91 because they feared like mayhem going on, and so the government banned it. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Queen came to Mexico in '84, and it was like a horrible experience, and people went crazy. And I mean, Freddie Mercury was really angry at what he saw, so nobody came. It was like really difficult. So finally Madonna and some other guys starting like saying they're not animals, they can handle this, you know. And until 2004, Pearl Jam came, Smashing Pumpkins came in 96, Alanis Morissette, so it kind of, even, like those bands that are important for us were just like 10 years ago started coming. So
right.
you're riding, it's still in that wave, you're gonna have a great audience waiting. Okay, Fielder, give me your song, your number.
I'm gonna say 3 because I cheated. And that's the one I want.
Natalie, tell me about Natalie.
Natalie, yeah, this was just like a really good example to me of like just a type of songwriting that that kind of just fell almost out of nowhere. I had just been playing that bass line just in my room, like not for a kill, like just like because I thought it was fun and weird, not even for, you know. And then I was with Jacob. I think we both got there early one day or something, and I just started playing it. And I'm pretty sure the song was completed instrumentally like 5 minutes later, which it doesn't sound like it because it's a weird sounding song and it's a different sounding song, and I think it's a special sounding song. And then Nina came in and we were just like, Nina, is this like a song? And then all of a sudden it was just there, and it felt really nice. It feels really refreshing. And I can't, you know, I don't want to talk for Nina, but as far as the picture that it paints, like with lyrically speaking, you know, we all have like the Natalie in our lives in some aspect. So like it really like a very vivid, even just taking what you're saying completely literally, you know, like being in the car in winter in high school, listening to music and like being all cold. And so it paints a really, the instruments are all kind of speaking to each other really nicely in that song. And we're all kind of communicating really effectively together. So it makes me excited.
That's my favorite song on the album.
Great to know. And creatively, how does your democracy work? How do you know when a song is ready, when a thread is coming out of something to work on?
Well, it varies. Our band started really with Jacob and I writing, like the guitar, like Jacob writes the guitar, I work on the vocal melody and the lyrics, and then we bring that together to the band. That's how we started as a group. But obviously with, you know, Natalie as an example, there are moments where like we're just practicing in our rehearsal space and somebody you know, starts playing something and then it just comes together organically like that. So and those are the most exciting versions of the creative process to me, because there is absolutely no control in that whatsoever. It's just somebody in the group is feeling something in that moment. And that's usually, to me, when I notice like you really get these like special songs that like everybody, you know, feels something for from the get-go. You know, that's why Natalie is my favorite, because I think that's like a really wonderful example of how we work together as a band so well. You know, how we all like have something to bring to the table. That's unique.
And have you established any kind of like vows in your band? Like this is like your limits and so on creatively as in a group? Because I mean, I'm starting to read Dave Grohl's book and his autobiography, and I just like been thinking of how in a moment you don't know if your record's gonna do well, you don't know if how your music is gonna be received, and suddenly you're giving interviews to other countries, and you know it's like boom, then you have it in your face. So do you have any limits or rules in your band?
I don't know if there's like, we don't have like a manifesto or like a declaration that we've etched in blood or anything with each other, but I think we have like an internal, this may be naive because I know these things, you know, these things can get crazy, but I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and say I feel like we have a kind of unspoken internal gauge between us about what feels healthy for our creative process and for our bond as friends and as musicians. At the bottom of this band, like at the core of it, is, you know, friendship and a sense of like loyalty to each other as people. So I think, you know, we're driven, we have that, you know, kind of like in the driver's seat. And I think there's also a sense of like being protective of our creative process and of our work together. And as exciting as it is to have people wanting to get involved and be a part of that, and as much as we love to open the door to people to like become invested and involved and all that, you do, I think, in order to keep a band strong, have to have this kind of almost slightly irrational protective thing about the magic or whatever it is that you have between each other, because it's hard, it's not a tangible thing that you can explain or something, but you have to like look after it like a child or something, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel that.
Protected.
That was fun.
So last two questions. What are your heroes in musically, or artists, or who do you look up to?
Fielder, you first.
I always try to have an answer to this. It's just, I mean, there's gotta be. I know, like, in terms of music, like playing music, I have like idols like that are like I love Interpol. So like the bass player from Interpol, Carlos D, the original one. He was like one of the reasons I was like, oh, I want to try to play bass. Like what he's doing is really cool. That's like an idol, I guess. In terms of like a hero, man, just like, I guess just the bands that kind of started the new movements in different ways, the Nirvanas and the Joy Divisions, and like the people that were like the first ones doing it. I guess you know, Wu-Tang Clan, all that stuff. I'm sure when they start talking, I'll think of other things too. But that's pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I'll go. This is always changing, and there's certainly like people on the list that are always there, but depending on what I'm listening to or what I'm thinking about, who I like would pick is always going to change interview to interview or something. But goddamn, Sonic Youth over the last couple days for me, I've been like on a deep dive into early Sonic Youth, like late 80s Sonic Youth. And Thurston Moore gets a lot of credit and definitely was a huge influence on my guitar playing, but Lee Ronaldo too. And the way those two played together is just unbelievable. And then Glenn Branca, who like invented that style of guitar playing, that avant-garde noise guitar playing in a kind of classical setting, who influenced both of those guys, you know? So I will shout them out right now as being a huge influence at the moment.
It's amazing. Great answer.
For me, lately, my artistic inspirations and heroes have been less about what the band is or what the music is. It's more about the artists themselves, and I'm particularly inspired by any artists that has had to overcome adversity or discrimination or inequality in order to have a voice, that they still have the courage in spite of everything to have a voice and to make that voice sing or to be able to play. So that goes for, you know, any poor kid that like, you know, has nothing but makes something out of it, to artists like Aretha Franklin who are completely torn down and then they have to rebuild. Like, to me, that's where I'm living right now, artistically, you know, both in what's inspiring me to write, the lyrics and melodies that I'm working on, but also just who I look up to as a person in general. And so
yeah, me too. That's why I like to read. I mean, people like that, people in, like, I'm always said them reading the all the artists that gather in Paris, as you said, the Roaring Twenties, the manifestos and everything, because I mean, through dark times come good creations, the best work. So
really, yeah. It's also been so exciting to me to see like the diversity in artists existing today, like coming from so many different places and voices that, you know, like the fact that I'm hearing reggaeton on the radio when 5 years ago I'd have no idea what that is so exciting to me, because that's like the more diversity we have, like that's when new ideas are created, you know. Like very often I feel like the reason why we're rehashing ideas is because we're just cycling through the same movements. But then when you start bringing other cultures in, like, you know, people from different backgrounds who like identify themselves differently, like that's when I think like a new movement is really coming. So it's very exciting now what's happening.
Yeah, you can connect with whatever, someone in IT, in Brazil, in whatever, and just start creating, send you the material and so on. So yeah, now, yeah, we have to have to use that and acknowledge it. So yeah, last question, because I mean, probably you have something to do. Tell me a little bit about the recording process with Dave Grohl. What did you learn? What did you teach him, or what kind of
we taught Dave everything he needs to know. Yeah, he learned from us, and at this point we've totally changed his life, and his life will probably never be the same, actually, to tell you the truth.
I knew it. That's why
very, very sweet and generous man, that's for sure.
He's really great. He's just honestly, like, the rumors are true. He's just very supportive. He loves music. He loves art. He loves young artists. Like, he has the opportunity to provide artists like ourselves with the chance, with the resources to make something cool happen, and he does do that. So recording at Studio 606 was a dream. We never wanted to leave. You know, there's so much history there and on the walls, and, you know, the instruments and recordings that are there, the Neve console that has, you know, recorded so many artists in the past. Like, it was really just like, I couldn't believe that we were there, you know. I'm still like, it still feels like a dream to me. So
it was super inspiring also, not just in like the obvious ways, which is like there was inspiration everywhere, but it was really inspiring in terms of you see people who achieve great success, you know, but not rare. It's getting rarer and rarer where those people are willing to like share that, and in like you can come in and do, like, I think it's a really neat aspiration to, like, I want to be in a big position of power so that I can help other people around me, and it's not that common to see. And with someone like Dave Grohl, it's like you have this amazing studio with this incredible gear, and you have the opportunity to help people, and then like that makes him excited. He's like, yeah, I want to do that. So that was like a huge inspiration also. It's like getting to a place where you can like help other people and give back.
Also on a maybe a more like personal level, I guess, like Dave is like, as a figure, I think I don't know, I think he's kind of important and special in this way that he's had extreme success and has been extremely generous and like kind and like supportive of other artists, but he's also just such like a funny, like lighthearted, humble, just like dude, you know. He's not like a figure, you know. He's not like this like kind of like mythic like sort of figure or something. He's like really kind of approachable, and I think he deflates a lot of the like rock and roll stereotypes of like how you're supposed to be struggling and how you're supposed to be depressed and like how you're supposed to victimize yourself and all this stuff. And he kind of just like brings a lot of joy to music making. He could have played the card of like getting a shitty hand dealt to him, and he's had his own hardships, but he is way more interested in focusing on unity and like positivity and like just making music with people and sharing what he has. And so I love that about him, and this kind of goofy, funny spirit that he has. So important, I think, for there to be figures like that in rock, you know?
Yeah, and I feel that for me, that's the most important thing for you guys to keep focused on joy. It's not joyful, it's not worth it, no? And you can keep the balance even if you're saying it's horrible what's happening, and then you come back to your center. That's thank you. I just like throw that way out, and we're gonna keep creating, but not destroy yourself along with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'll wish you the best. We're really eager to see you in March. We're gonna the whole magazine, and we're friends. Gonna be like first row.
Good.
Screaming, rocking with you guys, and congrats.
Thank you so much, Yara.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yara. Thank you. This was really nice. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Bye.
See you soon.
See you.